Crawling thorns, Comariero gasped. Dragon butternut, Tumus blurted. Hollow bits, Staves marvelled. All of these things were said simultaneously, and they had just about the same meaning. Only Lady said nothing, as Boy brought his newly purchased slave woman into the hall. Hello, the woman buzzed. Another round of exclamations that don't translate well was fired off. Come on, this is serious, Boy tried to argue. Lady stepped forward and removed her mega sheep coat. She pushed it into the woman's hands, then made nodding gestures until the woman put it on. You might think Lady was being nice, but it was actually because the woman's narrow pink dress exposed her shoulders, which was extremely rude back in Tindran. Happily, the woman interpreted it in the more positive light. My name is Tocker. Been mining my whole life, far as I remember. If you got a job for me, I won't disappoint ya, Tocker claimed. Could you wait outside? Lady asked calmly. Tocker was one to treat all suggestions as orders and quickly departed. Then Lady grabbed Boy by both arms. You pitbug, she growled. I have to explain that it's better this way, Boy said. You should have killed them! Or was it all a lie? I ain't never lied to you, Lady. You let Dad live all that time. Had no choice, then and now. Don't need a wonk to work that out. I'm sorry. Don't talk to her. Alright. Lady let go of him and marched outside. Comariero and Tumus were eyeing Boy in a what was that all about sort of way that required no translation. While Boy laid out Lady's history with slavery and with the family that institution had created, Lady directed Tocker out of earshot of the hall. I don't need to eat that much, if that's a problem, Tocker ventured. Shut up, Lady snapped. Yes, milady. Not like that. I mean, you're not a slave here. No one is. Your master paid for me, though. He's my brother, and he probably didn't buy you. He bought your freedom. You understand? But I have to work. That's how I eat. Free people do that too, when they don't have slaves. That's what it's like here. Can you accept that? Whatever you want, milady. It's just Lady. Okay, Lady. Dunno if you... Never mind. It'll all be okay, I think. Should I get started? Started on what? You need a cave. That's my job. Yeah, I do. Lady gestured to the mountainside and showed Tocker the little tunnel she'd made previously. Tocker bounced over to it and grabbed the pick leant against the rocks. She ran a hand over the dugout surface. Marble and granite. Easy! What you need here? She asked. Lady explained her dream of a rocky den away from the clacking and buzzing of the wind catcher outside her room. Tocker seemed genuinely moved that the poor colonists didn't have cozy hideaway holes already. It's practically what the Mass is here for, right? She said. The Mass? I don't know much about the Reticot spirits, Lady said. Oh, neither do I. You aren't from Reticot? Nope. From somewhere so far away I don't know where it is anymore. But so similar I can't believe I'm not there. Wow, you sound like a fire tender. I'm just a farmer. I had no idea. Amazing. Her enthusiasm was a mix of her extremely personable nature and the fact that among the tribes farming was seen as a hobby of the elites, if you recall Comariero's prior ramblings on the matter. Still, Lady was further endeared by the undeniably sincere display. Then Boy stomped over, hauling a plastic box of mining tools. Alright, Tocker, you're in, he said as the box crashed to the ground. First job, make yourself a place to sleep. You mean I don't have to sleep in one of your rooms there? Tocker asked anxiously. No, I'm telling you to make a hole and sleep in that. But if it all works out, it'll get better. So you really aren't going to use me as a slave? Tocker grinned, to the extent her irregular face could be read to have traditional expressions. She grabbed a second pick from the box and immediately cracked it against the tunnel face. Does she know... Boy began to Lady, but he and Lady both had to quickly back away as Tocker's speed heightened. With a pick in each hand, she crashed through the rock, with backhand and forehand digs scattering rubble with the blue flash of cosmic tool magic. "I'll make your den tonight too if I can, lady," she called over her shoulder. "By the bits," Boy muttered. "I don't need to buy drill bits, I'll carve them myself," Tocker shouted. She spoke Erefinglish, by the way, if you want to know how this misunderstanding came about. "By the bits," Boy muttered again. "She's really nice," Lady said as they walked back to the hall. "I ain't gonna say anything," Boy said. "Don't give her orders, Boy." "Don't need to, do I?" "Good." "Yep. Dunno what cursed her, but digging like that might take us all the way home. Or give us a nice place to hide from this roll-up, huh?" "Don't think that's how it works." "Yeah, well I doubt the locals know either. Bits knows. That's the key." Boy walked away with his faith rock solid, and even the best deep space miner couldn't crack that. Those physical rocks of the mountainside, though, really didn't last long against Tocker's assault. Over the next few days, she disappeared into her tunnel. She was scarcely seen, which suited the others well enough, although it did make it hard to come to trust the newcomer, even for the two only slightly less newcomers. But ultimately, you can't argue with results. 20 by 20 mets. That's like 65 of your yalms, Tocker explained. The rest of the crew marvelled at the chasm she had sculpted. They should have known it would be vast. The pile of rocks she had carted outside was clogging up half the colony. In only a week she had cleared 2 large spaces. First was a long, wide hallway on the left side of the main tunnel, the foundation for Lady's den, complete with little storage nooks and thoughtful waist-height shelves. On the right side was a short connecting passage that opened out into a large square chamber with a high ceiling. This was part of Boy's pet project, inspired by Tumus's claims that crops could be grown with blowwork lights indoors. Boy and Comeriero had shared many a scoff at this notion, but Tumus could bring up the cement powder mix-up again and again if he needed to build credibility. "While it is impossible, how can I tell my hands that there is no rock before me?" Comeriero said. "This is belt grinder quality. Who'd you work with before, Butter?" Tumus asked Tocker. "Well, you know the Redicott Outer Passage Administration." "Oh yeah, my prof on Orbital was part of that. There's a prestigious little nut there. You must have pulled a real swag to get a spot." Thanks. Let's just say they came to me at an early age, you know." "Yep, sounds like the racket alright." "Nearly done planting outside," Boy said. "Guess we really can give this a go. Or, worst comes to worst, we can brick ourselves in here and sit the action out, come the roll-up thing." "The mass can roll in here too," Comeriero pointed out, but luckily Boy didn't really know what that meant. He gave Tocker some time off for the next week, but she still kept to the shadows and operated on a speak-when-spoken-to policy. The policy of the Redicott Outer Passage Administration, no doubt. While manic and merciless at the rock face, she was slow, slouching and deliberately elusive at other times. The only exception was when the crew gathered to eat. Then she appeared as smiley and prim as she had on the day of her purchase. No longer sulking or quiet, she had no shortage of nice things to say about her table mates. Delivered in her grating voice, it created a strange therapy of anxiety and relief. "Tocker, you're a cosmic person, aren't you?" Lady asked on one occasion. "I mean, I'm from space. Is that what that means?" Tocker asked. "They mean like whether you're from a low-end world or not," Tumus explained. "These lot don't know the whole picture. Or guess they got their own picture they don't want to spoil and that nut." "Well, guess I am a cosmic person, if it helps." "Have you ever heard of Pieces?" Lady asked. "Yep, one of the closer spots." "It's close. In the cosmos, you mean?" "Sure, you got it. It's a short haul. 30 years under the lid and you're there. People don't go there, though. You thinking of it?" Lady, after getting a confirmation nod from Boy, filled Tocker in on the origin of the 3 Tindrans. "That's amazing," Tocker said. "I hope you find this thing, then. Maybe it's in the mountain. I'll dig if you want me to. You've dug us up half a quarry. Let's get through the blocks for now, Boy said, referring to the gradual operation to turn the excavated materials into more bricks. But I need you to tell me something, or you, Spacewonk, and keep it short. All these worlds you talk about, are they all like this one, or like pieces? No, some are much better. Can't get you a ticket that way though. You go out of the core, not in, Tocker said. Yeah, what she said, Tumas nodded. Told ya, there's loads of this. Get your head around that. You shouldn't have forgot over there, but that's Rimworlds. You really thought you knew it all? Could this mean that there are even more pieces? Boy pondered, oblivious to the atheistic nudging Tumas was going for. Wonk, is there anything about this you remember in the books? He added to Staves. If there is a helicat here, it's part of pieces. So in the old chapters when it says that the bits were scattered over pieces, it must mean everything, Staves reasoned. No holy places on orbital, Tumas smirked. Then how does it stay above us? Staves shot back with a smirk to match. Tumas had to shrug at that one, so Staves assumed victory. We ain't got enough time to go to all these worlds and find them all. Impossible, Boy murmured. Lady shuffled over and put an arm around him. We just have to do what we were destined to do. Maybe that's where Griffin and the soldiers are. They went to the next stop. They're relying on us here. And I'm relying on you, Boy. Those final words were the kickstart Boy needed, as usual. But all the dreams of religious questing were rather moot, as they had nowhere to go, no way to get there, and nothing to eat on the way. Once a prosperous farm was established, and they were no longer under siege from violent locals, maybe that would change. The business of that spring and summer was to flesh out Lady's wing of the cave, and by flesh I mean brick. Walls separated the space into bedrooms, and blowwork pipes allowed for plenty of buzzing lights and warm, pipe-mat, everlasting campfires, while the men sans staves filled the larder with fresh harvests of Boy's quick-grow rice. Lady and Tocker developed some cushy bedrooms. They could be best described as prison cells to us, but that standard was well above what either Lady or Tocker had enjoyed in their previous lives. Lady reported that Tocker had displayed the same mysterious cycle of being a cave-dwelling demon in line with her presentation, and being a kind-hearted shoulder reminiscent of the travelling priestess troops on Tindran. A brief disappearance on her part would make the transition from one to the other, and in her monstrous state she was all but useless. And over the week of building in the cave, these downtime periods seemed to be getting longer. Once all the bricks were set in place and beds had been carved out of blocks of wood with cosmic people quills, the greatest crash of all came. Lady and Tocker were standing there admiring their work when Tocker started twitching. You don't... Sweet pea, you have some... Psychite, she stuttered. I don't understand. What's wrong? Lady asked, but Tocker started stumbling about. Psychite! I've run out! She moaned, disappearing into her new room and closing the poorly fitting door. Further indistinct rantings sounded from inside for the few minutes more Lady listened. She went to fetch the others, but by the time they all arrived, Tocker was unconscious in her bed. Psychite's the fun stuff. I think we've got us a tea-head right here, Tumas explained. It's a forbidden potion, Staves asked with wide eyes. Forbidden? Nah, just comes at a cost. Your brain. Looks like you've made a defective purchase there, butter. More so than I thought. Boy shook his head. She's already done what she needs to do, he said, walking off. I will prepare soothing herbs for her mind. She may be reachable in her dreamland, Comariero offered. He ended up essentially force-feeding Tocker in moments of fleeting consciousness, but her stupor still atrophied her body. Whenever she could talk, she asked for more Psychite, but this addictive chemical was a product of industries unfamiliar to the colonists. Besides, it's bad for you anyway. Thus, Tocker scraped the surface of death in a violent withdrawal episode, spending days rebounding between a pained life and manic Psychite dreams. She called out an unfamiliar name over and over, and all Comeriero could do was stay at her bedside and recite old Tranca healing poems, whether she was listening or not. Outside the cave, things were peaceful. Since Lady had moved into her own room in the cave, Staves knocked through the wall of his hut to combine it with Lady's old one, creating a nice office for himself. Unlike the Staves shed, this place was free of cosmic people detritus. This was because all of it was now being used for something or other, be it to blow cool air through the kitchen sweltering under the summer sun, or to prop up poorly measured dining table legs. Now Staves was just studying the theory, which is a grandiose way of saying he read picture books about how to smelt mud into glass for new blowwork fires. He had made a breakthrough on the topic of blowwork. He realized that a windmill dipped into moving water also produced magical effects. It was not the blowing that made the work, but movement in general. Still, the name blowwork was there to stay. In between tending to the crops, Boy and Tumas tried to pick up where Tocker had left off and dig out some more useful spaces inside the walls, with little progress being made. Sometimes Boy would dare ask Tumas about other worlds, but they always sounded beyond belief, to Boy at least. Such was the pattern of summer in 5501 Reticot local era. At summer's end came a final hurrah on the part of the sun. Desert winds from the far north were pushed up against the mountain. It got hot. Real hot. It was more than 50 Celsius outside, and the sheet metal roofs of the colony made every room into a perfect oven. Even the cave became a dank prison of still, wet air. After trying to bear it for an hour or so, everyone found themselves drifting into the larder. The coolers usually kept this storeroom frozen over, but even magical blowwork had its limits. Still, it was keeping it down into the low 20s in there, and hence very soon, our 6 colony buddies were getting comfortable in the fridge, joined by 4 dogs, 2 megasheep, a few lumpy mammals similar to guinea pigs, several slow shells, a strange yellowish rat, and the carnival of insects that travelled with this bunch. Yes, Staves had been busy cultivating a new stable for himself, but we all do things that remind us of home. "How do people normally deal with stuff like this? Does it happen often?" Lady asked. "They do not deal with it, they are rolled up. That is how the mass chooses you," Comeriero said. "But here, we defy it. I believe the Zappers do this too. This is how they live long after their time. It is easier than I imagined it must be. Overlord tests everyone. Sure they aren't just taking it on with greater faith than you," Boy suggested. Comeriero shrugged. "I have never met this Overlord, so I cannot say. It spoke to us through the radio, said we have to escape, but we're still here," Staves noted. "I wonder if it's trying to kill us to prove us wrong." "We'd die for sure if we left," Boy shot back. "Overlord don't respect people who throw their lives away either. Although, now I'm really looking at it." Boy cast his eyes around the piles of plastic boxes and rough sacks woven from plant stalks that made up the furniture they were lazing on. It had been a very good year for the crops. They already had enough to last until the next summer, with another harvest yet to be brought in. When you looked at it up close, this farm was killing it, and I use that phrase in the sense to mean, in this context, not killing its inhabitants. "We could try and find Missy or something," Boy eventually concluded. "Forget your weird pieces, friends. We need to find some tets and get more freezer units purring," Tumas said. "The tets. They're the Zappers, right?" Comeriero nodded to Boy. "If anyone knows of any holy sites, it must be them. They can travel like cosmic people. We have to find out what they're doing here at least." There wasn't much enthusiasm about this minor call to adventure, but maybe that was just because everyone was trapped in the dark fridge, trying to stop the dogs eating all the potatoes and the bugs eating all their blood. Still, it was a good idea, and we'll return to it shortly. The coming of night made it safe to venture back out, and the next day clouds came to the rescue. Being dragged between hot and cold rooms seems to have had a rather positive effect on Tocker, who was now permanently in her sulking state, but was at least alive and willing to eat unaided. The only nice thing she had to say was about Boy and Tumus's efforts to dig a passage to connect the colony interior to the underground river that ran up its flank. She hissed out bits of advice to help before scurrying back into her lair deep in the rock. A helpful monster. The passage was completed in the coming days, which not only made the walk to get water a little shorter, if more crouched and depressing, but it allowed Staves' blowwork breakthrough to be utilised. By placing a steel wind catcher on its side, the water could be used to push it around just like a mill. The rotation of the main shaft within a bunch of coiled up blowwork pipes produced a steady stream of usable magic, no longer at the whims of the winds. Very nice. Altogether, the summer ended with the colony looking pretty good. They had top-notch fields, plenty of space, had all the cosmic tools set up in the workshop, even if they didn't know what to do with them, and they were all safely behind castle walls, or maybe meters of mountainside. With the exception of Boy's little cave farming project, this homestead was complete, and that means there was more and more time to think about the rest of the doomed world. With base needs attended to comfortably, the grander work of the Hilokat Crusade demanded attention. It was time for a little trip into the great unknowns of Reticot, safe in the knowledge that nothing could possibly go wrong while they were away. Right?